Hello, happy Sabbath, and how are y'all doing today? It is great to be back, and it's great to do another edition of Right Before. Today, I got with me Miss Jennifer. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and without further ado, I hope y'all have had a blessed week and a good Sabbath, and we're gonna get right up into it. So, as you know, here in America, you know, a lot of craziness has been going on in the past couple of weeks and months.
Definitely.
And of course, we've had the trial of George Floyd and that verdict, and we've seen what happened. Finally, we've got, I won't call it justice, but some form of accountability being taken.
Accountability, yes.
I just want to ask you how you feel about all the recent string of, I call them straight what it is, I don't want to say anything else, murders that's been happening with these police officers.
I mean, how can you feel? Like, right now, I'm literally just sick of it. Like, I don't know what else we could do, what we could say. I don't know how we could move forward. It's just like, there's no resolution at this point. I just feel like it's going to keep happening.
And that's it's a sad thing to hear that, like, feel like it's going to keep happening. There's nothing we do to get past it. I've noticed it always seems like whenever you have a major event that happens, it seems like there's always a bunch of small ones that happen along with it. So, of course, we had the trial of Derek Chauvin, but then Daunte Wright got killed. Then we had Ma'Khia Bryant that just happened. And then we're looking at all these other ones I'm seeing all over my Instagram. And I want to say, like, I don't think it's so much that it's just randomly just starting to happen all over the place. I think it's just starting to get attention because that's what's happening at the moment. Of course, as people of color, we understand that. But I wanted to ask, like, do you think, is it something that, is it only going to be able to change once it has popping attention like this, only when it's what's trending?
I don't think it'll ever really change. I just think we would have to hold the police accountable for their actions so they know that it's not just necessary just to shoot to kill. You need to think before you act. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not, I just feel like it's going to keep happening, but we just have to keep them accountable for their actions. They can't get away with this.
Yes.
So that's my only thing.
Exactly, and that's a great point because once you put them in, I feel like once you put those police officers and those people in a position where they feel in the back of their mind subconsciously they know if they do this, there's going to be consequences for their actions, then it's going to make them a lot less likely to do that.
Yes.
And oftentimes, I think they already know and feel that, but with a certain specific group of people, and I saw Cuomo on CNN on Instagram, I saw him talking about it, of one of his little segments. He said, in order for this change to truly start happening, he said, God forbid, but it'd have to be a large, because the majority of people in America are white brothers and sisters, right? And in order for it to truly take a hold and have the majority of people shook, it'd have to be a bunch of headline topics coming, oh, your son, your daughter, whatever came home and whatever happened with a police officer, they're dead. And it take that kind of thing in order for it to truly start to happen.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be sold on that, because I don't want it to be something where I have to see people get killed in order for change to happen in the first place.
That would be sad.
Right, because we don't want that to happen.
Yeah,
right?
no.
Any loss of life is a loss, and we don't want that at all. But another thing I had seen, though, is like ever since 2000, I think 5, Derek Chauvin's only like the maybe 5th officer to be convicted of murder and charged and sentenced, and I think that's like unacceptable.
Yeah, they get away with it, and that's not how it should be. If you kill a person, it's against the law to kill.
Yeah.
It's against the law, even if you're an officer. So that just bothers me. But I have a question for you.
Okay.
You being a black man or a black young man, how do you feel seeing this happening in this time and knowing that it could be you, God forbid, but like, thinking about it, put yourself in their shoes, it could be your situation. How do you feel?
I'm gonna be completely honest, like, about this question. I'm very passionate about like social justice, and I'm very passionate about whenever I see somebody else the same color as me or the same I can identify with getting mistreated. So when I am faced with this over and over and over again, I had to talk to my grandma. For a second, I'd become numb, almost numb to it. My grandmother told me that it's not okay for me to be numb to it, because I always have to make myself or put myself in a position where I have to battle it mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and be aware of what's going on around me. And when I'm out, I just got my license and stuff too. When I'm out driving and I'm by myself, every time I see a police officer, like, in the back of my head and in my actions, I freeze up. I tense up really hard when I'm behind that wheel.
Because you never know.
Yeah, and I never know who's going to be behind that steering wheel of that police car. I don't know if it's somebody that feels like they're cool or someone that's just, like, having a bad day,
Yeah.
And I want to ask this question. I know that we always get faced with the thing like good cops, bad cops. What do you think about policing overall as a system?
I think we need it, but I just feel as though there's a right way to do it. I think some police officers have like a power trip, and they just feel, some people join the force just to have power. They want to be in power. They want to be in control of something, so they feel they can control everybody else and do whatever they want to do. So I do believe we need it, but it's just the way, I think certain people need like mental checks before they join the police force. That's what I feel.
Facts. I totally agree with you, because these police officers, they get the same position, and come to find out, they have the same mentality, or living basically like a double life, or not even really, because I feel like a lot of people in the police force, they live a life and everybody knows it, but they choose to turn a blind eye towards it. So it's not just so much the like mental check thing. It all starts with the people in the position of power to begin with at the very top. Like, who's your police chief, who runs that precinct, and who's over that entire area of precincts too. But then you get at a deeper issue and a deeper root, because policing, like, doesn't just, police officers is the same, falls within the same category. Like, you get that badge that says sheriff, police deputy, comes from the same star that was once initially Runaway Slave Patrol. So they have that same mentality of, oh, we're gonna go to get the slaves, bring them back, we might kill a few, might bring a few back, but our job is to round them up. So they come into this African, Hispanic, or these people of color communities, and that mentality is still there. Even though the word may not be used, slave, you still have that mentality of, okay, I'm coming in this community to do damage, not to heal.
And you know what? To that point, a lot of the police officers that are killing black folks are like white police officers. And I think I don't know if it's my thought, but you know how powerful black people are. And I feel like they want to have some type of control over the black community. You know what I'm saying? They want us to fear them, but because they're really afraid of us. So that's why I feel like they're so quick to shoot a black person before they, try to figure out the situation, or tase, or, just, do something else besides killing. So I feel like they're afraid of what we can do. And that's why this case was so important, because I feel like if they don't have accountability, somebody got to help us.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who's going to come down and we don't have superheroes. Ain't nobody going to come down here and just knock all these police out from you, feel me?
Yes.
And another thing I wondered too sometimes is I get worried about the tension between the African-American community and the police officers. If it builds up to a certain point, you're going to have too much. It's going to be to where you have these incidents where the police officers aren't even going to be able to do the job on the regular, because every time you see somebody get pulled over, it's gonna be a large group of people gathering around, and then a lot of these police officers, they can't take the pressure. This lady that pulled over Dante Wright said, "I thought it was a taser." Like, bro,
Yeah, I thought I pulled out a taser.
she's
Girl.
a 26-year veteran cop. She's seasoned, matured, and she's been on the force for you know how long, done how many accidents. To say something like that,
Difference.
yeah, you definitely know the difference, right? And if you really, truly believe that and you feel that, she should have never had that a job in the first place.
Exactly.
So it all goes back to training. Like, what were they doing in training to make you feel like this is...
And the fact that they feel that when they kill somebody, it could be justified to be a reason why, I had to, for my own life, I thought he was going to shoot me, so I shot him first. You're trained to do better.
Yeah.
You're trained to do better and to assess the situation. You're not supposed to shoot first.
No.
So that just bothers me.
You don't go to your job like as a police officer. I pray to God you wake up in the morning and your first thought should be, man, I'm gonna have to kill somebody today.
Yeah.
That should be the last
I'm
thing
ready
on
to
your
shoot.
mind.
I'm ready.
I'm ready to shoot. I saw someone. I saw this guy. He was a former police officer, I think, and he goes around. He makes hundreds of thousands of dollars selling his books, and I could not believe this. This white dude, this white guy. I mean, he was saying that whenever you kill, some people feel bad about it. Some people feel bad because they don't feel anything about it. He said you should feel good. And this is what he's going around saying. This is the mindset they're instilling in the people who are supposed to be out here on these streets dealing with these situations. And another thing I constantly see that I really identify with, we all can identify with, people really criticize the person in the moment and because of the person's actions. When in reality, the person's not trained to deal with a situation like this. If a police officer is abusing you, attacking you, beating you over the head, pepper spraying you, a police officer is trained to deal with this situation. But why is it that every time we see something like this happen, the police officer is the one that loses control but never gets held responsible?
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
You're trained. We're not. What do you expect? And in a court of law, they really try to make the excuse that the police acted on justifiable reasoning. What about all the things you taught that police officer going into that position in the first place? They contradict themselves constantly.
All the time.
All the time. And it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
It's insane to see that, and it's even more crazy to think or to be faced with every single day. Every time we get pulled over or every time we deal with an officer, that we could potentially lose our lives. And you know what's even wilder? There's a lot of people in the white community that know that, and you've seen the term Karen, right? These women that get in these little altercations, and for whatever reason, like you said, they get on that power high and they feel like they got their right to exercise their white supremacy. They'll threaten us with that. Oh, you keep doing that, I'm gonna call the police. And the first thing they do is say, there's a black male threatening me.
And they show up right away.
Exactly, and they show up right away within 3 minutes of the call.
It's really sad. I don't really know, like, how do we move forward and, like, change? That's the big thing. Like,
That
you know
is
what I'm
the
saying?
biggest
Like,
question
how do
to
we
ask.
move forward in figuring out how to deal with the police? Because it feels like whatever we do, it doesn't help. We could comply all day, but they'll make up something. They'll find a way to justify their reason.
Yeah.
So how do you move forward?
Well, I talked to Pastor about it, Pastor Mike, and he says one of the biggest things we can start doing before anything else, we go to God about it first.
Amen.
That's the first person, the first being we go to, God up above. He keeps us straight, right? He keeps us in the right mindset, because without God as a presence and without that hope, you lose all hope. And because of that, you start to get in that numb state and not be aware and just not care.
Yeah.
And then it creates a lot of division, not only between police officers in the black community, but between the black community of people and how they think.
Yes.
But we got to be unified together as one people under one God before we start to deal with that. Secondly, we go to the polls. Nothing like this can truly start to change by just people's actions alone on the street. If you don't have the people in the office making the type of decisions that you voted them in there to do, then you're not going to get any real change down where you want to see it on the ground.
And you have to vote.
You have to. It's not a, oh, well, I don't vote, so, well, my one vote's not going to change the whole thing. But then that one mindset gets planted like a seed, and it spreads so fast, like weeds. Everybody else gets that same mindset. And then before you know it, you got millions of people that don't vote. And next thing you know, we got somebody we wanted to be in office lost by maybe like 1%, and that might be like those millions of votes. that we lost because everybody wanted to have that same mindset.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to ask, though, before we start to get close to the end here, the whole Chauvin trial, right? I think it looked like from the jump, we all knew what should have happened, but we were all just holding our breath, hoping they wouldn't do, like, they wouldn't pull like what happened with Trayvon Martin, or with Alton Sterling, or with Michael Brown. And finally, they made the right decision. I can't believe his lawyer went up there and said space aliens, bro. I was so dead. I was like, okay. His lawyer must know he be defending somebody that don't deserve it, because he really went up there and said, oh, space aliens came and possessed him.
He was trying his best.
Trying his best. He was up there. I don't know what he was doing. But there's a whole thing about justice, and people say justice, justice, justice over again. I don't necessarily agree with the whole term justice, right? And I want to ask you, like, what do you think about it? Is that really justice that we're seeing, just this one officer get convicted?
I want to say his life can never be replaced. But in that situation, I feel like he did get the justice. I mean, George Floyd, his family, I feel like they got what they needed. He got the conviction. So I feel like in that scenario, yes, but it's only the first step in moving forward. Like, they got justice for their family, but we're not done.
No, not at all. And you know, this ain't justice for me. Like, of course, for that family, they get justice.
Yeah.
This isn't justice for me or anybody else in the community. You know why? Because why is it that if there was no camera, this never would have happened?
You would never.
None of this
never
ever
been
would have happened.
in court. No trial.
Never. He could have had the body cam footage, right? And still wouldn't have got convicted because it's from his perspective. And it's crazy. Sometimes, more often than not, unless it's a perspective of somebody from the street just witnessing what's going on and not the police officer himself, then we don't see that conviction. And we don't see the conviction not else in the court, but the conviction in the people.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in our communities, so many people make 10,000s of excuses, and they try to judge the content of the character of the person that's on the ground getting killed rather than the situation itself.
Yeah.
And it's insane to me how more people were upset about somebody going to jail than somebody getting murdered. That is crazy to me. Someone's going to spend the rest of their life, they're going to spend a long time behind bars. They're still going to be alive, though. This family never going to see him again. And I'm sure everybody in this room has lost somebody at some point. And you know that's a pain that's never goes away. Yeah. But you have the gall to sit there and say, oh, well, you know, maybe if he didn't do this, maybe if Johnny didn't rob the store when he was 5 years, well, maybe he didn't steal that candy bar when he was 7 years old, this would never happen to him. Like, I don't understand why people got to the point where they decided they were going to be judge, jury, and executioner all in their lifetime. All in their set. Like, you got all that responsibility. Like, God died, and then, oh, yeah, this is my job. I get to judge you and say what's supposed to happen to you in your life.
How you're supposed to live.
If we all live by that concept, then we'd be like Wild Wild West. Everybody getting killed over something dumb every single same day. So they can't use that logic and then want to receive the same treatment, right?
You're right.
It starts with respect and treating people how you want to be treated, concepts we learn from a young age. At some point along the line, you forgot where you came from. And I think that goes not just for people, but a lot of times people in power. We see it, Candace Owens, sell out. You forgot where you came from. You got a little bit of a bag, and then you completely forgot about the people that got you to that point along the way. But it's inspiring to see. I think it's beautiful to see that there are black people of the black community that no matter what happens, they're always going to speak out for what's right. Number one person that comes to my mind is LeBron James. He's always been an advocate for our community, no matter what. And he has such a big spotlight, and a lot of people hate him for it and say, oh, I'm not going to watch another Lakers game ever again as long as he's playing for them.
He's still getting paid.
Yeah, he don't care. He's still going to get paid, and he's still going to speak his mind no matter what happens, because you know who is going to be behind him rooting for him? Millions and millions of other people that love to see it, right? So as we get ready to come to a closing here, I want to thank you for being up here again today.
Thank you.
We've had a great conversation. We've had a lot of great thoughts get passed. And I want to remind everyone at Philadelphia that the first thing you do before anything else is go to God in prayer.
Amen.
That's the first thing we got to do before we do anything else here in our community. And the second thing is, it's our job and our responsibility, especially as young people, to continue to push the rock. I know that's what God gives us to do. Our responsibility may not be to move it, but to push. And that's as much as it's like with these issues that go on with police violence and the problems we face in the community, it's our job to continue to push and push and push until if there's a will, there's a way. And if we have that will, there's no way that we can't make a way. And if there's always that will there's always going to be a way for us to push and make this accountability be present. So with that being said, thank you for viewing today. This has been Right Before, myself and Miss Jennifer. It's been great. Y'all have a beautiful and happy Sabbath.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.